Guys, good morning. Welcome back. Let's quickly go through assignment 1, which was done and submitted last Friday, if I'm not mistaken. I'll quickly go through it, and if there are any questions you had in mind while you were doing it or whatever, you can ask them. And this is also your feedback regarding the assignment, right? So if there is anything that seems odd to you, discuss it with me and I'll clarify it. And change things if you think, oh, that's another better way of doing it. But here is the solution I was looking for, and this will give you an idea of what was expected of you. So that way you have your feedback right from me. So I won't be giving individual feedback on the assignment just because I'm discussing it right here. So it will take me 10 minutes to discuss it. You could have marked it yourself, but we'll leave that. Then there are questions about, oh, what if I haven't done this and so on. So commenting was required. Commenting, if you see, I haven't filled it up, but your name, date, and purpose at the head. And the purpose would be something like create a database and a table therein to store information about drinks, right? And then populate the table with data and select it. So that's how it will be. That's the purpose it will come down to. I've written my 3 drop, create, and use statements together with 1 comment. You could have written 3 comments as we did the first couple of weeks. Now that it's so English-like, you can start kind of putting them together. So you can kind of call them a section, right? So this is a section which is actually working with the database, dropping and creating. So you can say drop existing database if it exists, create a new database and use it. So you can give 1 comment and you can write all those 3 things together. Again, keep in mind the drop is just for us. It's not something you use in real life. The create, again, you may not be creating a database every time, every day of your life as a career if you are working as a database programmer, but you should know how to do it. For us, for every assignment, we will be doing it. But definitely you need to use it. What I've done here, I've kind of used a different convention here just to show you that, it's not a rule to use the underscore. So, but whatever you've done, so this is what I've been doing till now, right? Like this is what I did. But whatever you do, be consistent. If you want to write DB in front of your database, do so. If you don't like the idea, don't do it. If you want to do it with the underscores, do it. If you don't like the idea, don't do it. But be consistent. Similarly, in tables, notice that I haven't done it. So it's not so tough to kind of do a find and replace. I can always find my drinks, right? No, I don't want to do that. These drinks will also start becoming tables. But anyway, so you can always change your table name from drinks to table drinks. But my aim is that irrespective of what convention you use, be consistent in your convention. So I usually do that way. I always go this way. It's just my habit. Like I've always done it. But the idea was just to show you, oh, it can be done in some other ways also. So all I'm doing is I'm getting it back to my own way of doing it, but that's all it is. Now, the next question, the set mood. In the assignment, I said, set it if you need it. If you don't, then you may not. I want to bring this to your notice that older versions of SQL, this not null was not enforced. Even if you said not null, you could put a null value into it. It was not enforced till you said that the SQL mode was strict all tables. Therefore, look at my comment which says ensure not null is enforced. In yours, for the couple of weeks, I've been just saying set the environment, right? But this was the reason that this statement was put. So maybe a couple of years back, I'm sure it was not more than a couple of years back, you wrote not null here, but you could still put a null value into the drink name. And to ensure that it was enforced, this rule was enforced, you had to do this set SQL statement. So I want to keep you reminded that you may have to set the environment for your script because you have no idea where you will be running your script. When I say no idea, I'm not saying you don't know where you'll be running it. You don't have an idea of the environment necessarily of what it is. And nobody is going to change it for you. Right? You can go to the server administrator and say, can you change the environment for me? You can do that. So you set your own environment. So to be on the safe side, I always go strict all tables just so that I don't know, will it work on Dreamhost or will it not work on Dreamhost? I have no idea, right? I can test it right away and let you know. It works definitely on what it is today. It does work on it. So I don't need that statement, but I put that comment so that you could see why am I even using it. I don't know how many of you again took the trouble of reading through it. That's one of the reasons of the SQL mode setting. But again, it's up to you. Then comes the table. So create a table defining fields and types. So I kind of have dropped it before. So I'll kind of add it, drop the table, create it. But again, keep in mind that this statement is entirely useless for us, entirely. Unless in the assignment I've said you have to drop it, then I want to see the statement so that I know, oh, you know how to write it. But for us, this is entirely useless because we are dropping the database before we even start. So if you drop the database, everything is gone. But there is the drop table statement. So I'm not sure if the assignment asked for it and therefore I haven't commented it. But usually you will see I'll put it in my code, but I'll comment it because it's useless. Then comes the create table command. And this was the one of the important parts of it. I said, please don't change the data. So I didn't want you to change the 8.61 to 8.6, though I said carbs should come with one place of decimal. I didn't want you to change the 42.52 because again, there are two places after decimal. You don't change the data. Your type that you define automatically when the data is saved, it will truncate it. You'll get a warning. I've truncated the data. That's okay. You wanted it. Okay. So don't change the data. Now let's look at the type. I think all of us will agree on the first one. The drink name is a varchar. Can be anything else. Cannot be character because you don't know how much. And don't go and count, please. Don't go into the data and count what is the maximum size. Make an educated guess, right? Most cases, your client will give you some idea because client is collecting the data or the client has the data. And it's very easy. There are so many software available where you can simply kind of say, oh, what is the maximum length of the name in my data? So I worked with 20, it worked, and I was okay. If you try 15, for example, or 10, for example, and you kind of run your program, you will see I have an error. It will say drink name is too long for row 5. Row 5 means where you are adding it, the fifth row. So I knew, oh, 10 wasn't a good one. And I knew it because there was something like kiss on the lips was a big one. So it looked big. You can try 15 if you want. Like you can go in terms of fives if you want. 20 worked, and I didn't bother to go ahead of 20. I tried 15, I think, and then I went 20. So again, I'm not looking for you to say 50. Doesn't make sense at all. So looking at the data, 50 doesn't make sense at all. So 20, 25, 30, I'll accept it, right? It is a best fit. But again, 10 will not work as we just saw. And I don't think even 15 works. I think so. It doesn't work. So drink name was a simple one. I chose not to use only name because name is a reserved word. And I've said avoid it. Though MySQL doesn't say anything, I don't want you to think otherwise. As programmers, you should just avoid using reserved words just because that's how it usually is. MySQL is not a pure programming language. SQL is just a scripting language. It's just a query language. So it's not very strict and it lets you do things that it shouldn't, but we won't go that route of learning bad things because we want to be programmers. Now comes the cost. Not so difficult. If you looked at the data, there was no drink which was more than $10. There wasn't any drink. And drinks usually, I mean, you have again an idea. Your client will tell you, oh, our drinks are, it's around, the maximum is around $10. He'll give you an idea of what it is. Again, looking at the data, there was nothing more than $9.99. So what did I do? I definitely need two places after decimal. I still went 4,2. I could have gone 3,2 because there was nothing more than $10. But I just gave it a little padding. So a little padding is not bad, right? A little padding is okay. What if a drink kind of goes to $12? I mean, so 4,2 is simply saying the maximum is 99.99, which is not bad. So a little padding is good, but I wouldn't go 5,2 because no drink will ever become 999. You know what I mean? Right now, it's not even $10. So yeah, from 10, maybe it could go to 12. I mean, that's not a big change. So I went 4,2. So if I see a 4,2, I'm saying, yep, you've thought about it. All fields were unsigned. The numeric fields were all unsigned. It was already asked of you, and they were all not null. So those requirements had to be met. Then comes carbs, right? Now I need one place after the decimal, and if you see in my data, that was the maximum I had. I didn't see more than that carbs. Again, I didn't see anything more than 99.99. So everything was two digited, right? Before the decimal, it was two digited. I wanted one place after decimal, so I could have gone again 3 comma 1. So 3 comma 1 and 3 comma 2 will most probably work unless it sees the data, oh, that's 4 and I can't save it. Maybe it just gives a warning. You will have a warning. See, it does say data truncated at cabs at row 13, because it's trying to say, oh, you've said 3 comma 1, but here it is, I see a 42.52. What do I do about it? And it just tells you that, you know what, I'm going to truncate it, which is fine for us, because what will it truncate? It will truncate the decimal part. So 42.52 becomes 42.5. So it is okay to go 3.2 and 3.1, but usually database programmers will kind of give it a little padding, just a little padding, depending upon flexibility. Oh, it may increase. You know what I mean? Like, that's all. So 4 comma 2 and 4 comma 1 are perfect best fits for these two fields. 3 comma 2, 3 comma 1, I'll accept it, but I would like you to keep in mind that you don't have to really look at the data so closely, because you don't peek at data. You have an idea of the data. You are guessing, right? An educated guess. But most of the cases, your client will tell you what is the type of data he's working with. Then came color. Again, I didn't kind of started counting, oh, orange was O, R, A, and G. That was not my job. I kind of looked at the color. I said, colors are usually 10 to 20. So you could try 10. It worked. I didn't even bother going more than it. You could go 15, not a bad one. I would go maximum of 20, because it's more than enough, doubled, right? But I wouldn't go 50 or 100. So again, the best fit for color was varchar 10. Again, not a character. We are sticking with varchar fields because we've learned that character says that each field is fixed in size. That is where you will use it. Okay. Then came ice, and I don't know how many of you went with enumerated. Any of you went with enumerated, the one I've used here, enum? Nobody? Okay. Now it's okay if you've done it and I see something, I just give bonus. If not, that's fine. So what is the best field if it is not enum?
I use set.
Set, yep, kind of the same thing. So what would be the best fit for ice? It has a value either of a Y or an N, nothing else. So what was your idea? What was it that you used? Let's hear.
I just use char.
Char. Size, char of size.
1.
Perfect. Char 1 would be a good one, right? You'll say, oh, what if it becomes yes or no? Yeah, you could go char 3, but you know what? You have data. The only thing you're seeing in data is Y and N, nothing else. You could just go char 1. Now, there is nothing wrong in char 1, but let's look at the advantages of enumerated data type. So this is called the enum, and set is another way that you can work with it. What it is saying is this. It's saying that the only two possible values that you can put in that field are Y or N, capital, small, both work, right? Nothing else. Nothing else. So what does it do? With char 1, you can put a comma in it. You can put an A in it. You can put a B in it. You can put any character, right? So the 1 is okay because we only wanted to put 1. But char does not kind of ensure that, oh, I can put a Y or an N. You can put an A, B, C. Nothing can stop you. So is it wrong? Since this is your first assignment, I wouldn't say it is wrong. But this point onwards, I would say, yes, it is not the best fit. Right? So when you see data that has limited values and you want to enforce the rule of this limited values, go with enums. The rule of enums is this. All data in enums are strings. So you have to put your data in strings, right? Whether even it be numbers. And it's very handy. For example, months in an year. It's instead of working with 1, 2, 3, 4 in your code, suppose you're working with 1, 2, 3, 4, or putting value 1 for month name, it would be nice if you could put January for month name or February, right? It would be more readable. So what can you do? You can create an enumerated data type, put the names of the month inside that enumerated data type, opening bracket, closing bracket, single quotes, they are strings. And then in your code, when you populate the data, you can put those values, you can use those values. Makes the data more readable. And you'll say readable, yes, because when you're searching for it, instead of saying where month name is equal to 1 and the data comes up and month name is showing as 1, we know month name 1 is January, but if it says month name 6, maybe some of us may have to count, oh, January, February, March, April, May, June. You know what I mean? So using enumerated data type improves readability. Definitely, readability is improved, enforces rules, and makes it the program more flexible in the sense, oh, I want to add another enumerated constant, I just add it to the list and I can use it. But the rule is that enumerated constants, I'm not sure about sets because I haven't used sets. So there could be some rules about sets too. But the data type, all the data in an enumerated data type has to be strings. They all have to be strings. And there's another thing that you should be aware of. Internally, inside, I mean, you may not bother with it, but you will see a difference when I do it. Internally, Y has a value 1 and N has a value 2. So inside the computer, this Y and N are saved with an index. Y is 1 and N is 2. So if there was a third one, it would be 3. Fourth one, it would be 4. So the internal values are integers and the external values have to be strings. So today when I do an example, I'll kind of use numbers as enumerated constants, but I'll kind of tell you be careful of how to use them. But that's what happens. Internally, these are 1, 2, 3, 4 and whatever. Right? If you wanted to give it a default value, you have to be aware. It wasn't asked of you. That's another thing you have to be aware of. If you want to give it a default value, it has to be either Y or N. You can't give it an A because you're saying, oh, the only values that I will allow is Y or N. So you can give it a value that is not in your list. So that's a requirement. Okay, keep that in mind. So the default was not asked. So enumerated data type or the set data type as was being mentioned. So again, all you do is if you want to kind of look at set, as I said, I don't know about set. I haven't used it. I'm more with enumerated just because every language has it. All you do is you go here, you say set, you say MySQL, look for it. There is a reference manual 8.0. Anyway, here it is, the reference manual. And there is, oh, that's the set variable command. It's the set, but I wanted to see the set data type. This is a set. This is a type I want to see. This is also talking about sets and sets, the set type. So there is the set type, right? A set is a string object. Again, it has strings that can have 0 or more values, each of which must be chosen from a list of permitted values specified, and set column values that consist of multiple are specified with members separated by commas. Same way, a consequence of this is that the set member values should not themselves contain commas. So for example, a column specified as 1, 2, not null can have any of them. So I think it almost behaves the same way. So inside there's a member, there is inside the values could be 1 to 3. So I haven't used set. So just on the fly, I can tell you the rules of it, but definitely enumerated data type, I know the rules because I've used it, right? So they have to be string objects. String objects for you, you can just assume, call them strings, but you know what objects are, right? You've done intro to Java, your first programming fundamentals. And it can, internally, its values are 1, 2, 3, and so on and so forth, right? Can it take duplicate values? I don't know. Let's see if I get an error or it just kind of ignores it. I mean, I've repeated it, though it doesn't make sense repeating it, but I've repeated it. No. So you can't write it again. I mean, it doesn't make sense writing it again, but you can't write it again. But just for information, small y, capital Y, it's not case sensitive. So they're all allowed. Notice how I put a small y just to show it to you. That yes, you can put a small y in it. So that's enumerated. Okay, so char 1 would be the best fit for now for assignment 1, but definitely enumerated or set from what I see It all, I think, works the same way. You can look up set, but this is what enumerated data type is. Okay. And lastly, calories. Again, I didn't see any calories which were more than 255. 167 or something was the maximum. So one, it is unsigned because I said all are positive. So I used unsigned, and I don't need a small int. The small int's range is not what I require. I'm fine with 255 as being my maximum value. You're almost doubling it. 137 is given and you're going up to 255. So I went with tiny int. I'll let go small int if you've used it, but I'm not looking for an int or a long int here. Doesn't make sense at all. Okay. So if this is, so you will have marks for your best fit, as was mentioned in the assignment. Okay. So if you lose marks, I'll put a small comment or whatever, but now you know what the answer is. So I'll put this answer on Blackboard for you. Okay. So just so, because purpose is something where I find people kind of losing it. So I'll say create a database and a table therein to store information about drinks. That's what you've basically done in this, right? And then you're basically populating the data and you're saying display the records. Without that, it really doesn't make sense. This is all I am kind of, you could have added populate the table with data. I mean, it's not so necessary because you will, otherwise what will you do? There. And you can kind of copy and paste it almost in all your assignments. All you'll have to see is basically this will change. Right? And things will change. A little more things will change when you start doing more stuff, but that's what it is. That's what you've done in this assignment. So after that, the rest was all easy. I went with insert statement. I just went with the default insert statement because I had to put in a value for each one of the records. I could have used default and worked that way, and the small y was just done so that you could see, oh, small y also works and small n will also work, just so that you know. Right? So all 4 values will work. And then all I did was show me the record. So if I run this code, there it is. Notice the small y and the small n have been converted to capital Y and capital N in your eyes, just because those were the 2 values allowed. So it takes the y and n, but saves it as capital Y and capital N. It's not case sensitive. There are ways of making it case sensitive, just for your information. So you can't assume, oh, that's fine. Maybe the server is case sensitive, and you can use a set statement not to make it case sensitive. Right? You'll learn about it today. That's it. That was the assignment. That's all you wanted. So I'll mark it. I just am getting the time to mark it. I'm afraid of there's so many that I look at, oh my God, so many, and I kind of go back, but hopefully this weekend I'll be able to mark it. It's not a long weekend. Last weekend was busy, so there it is. So I'll put this on Blackboard just so that you see it also. Okay, so it will come on Blackboard. Okay, so today's job then. So let's create a new file. So a new script is required. So you go with the plus sign. All I'm doing is I'm kind of trying to cheat a little, take these comments. And fill them in. Today's aim is to introduce you to the enumerated data type in the sense that we'll work with it so that you get an idea. I'll do the set some other time then because I still don't know everything about it and I don't want to waste time going through the manual. I'll do the set also so that you see it somewhere else. Okay, so the date today is May 24th. And create a database and a table therein to store information about donuts today. Populate the table with data, display the records of the table. But this display the records of the table is what is extra today. Not only just a select statement. Basically, we are going to display the records of the table using various or some, different select statements. There is not only one select statement. That was just the easiest one. Select star from table was the easiest one. You didn't have to do anything in it. Okay, so we'll learn more select statements. That's the aim, doing selections today. Because, just selecting all records from the table is not very useful. Excuse me, not very useful. Okay, so we can kind of just change this to donuts. You can again use whatever makes sense to you in terms of convention. I'll stick to my conventions. The other use of kind of using this DB and TBL is you can use the same word donuts and kind of use it in your table. You know what I mean? Like you don't have to think of something else. I can call it table donuts. The only difference is I didn't have to think of something else. If they don't have DB or TBL, now of course, if there were more than one tables, it would be different. But all I'm doing is keeping information about donuts, and that's why I'm working this way. So Thursday, and this is week 3. And we will do it with the primary key today. Okay, everything we'll do the first normal form. We are going to drop the table. We are going to create a table in first normal form. 1NF, first normal form as it is called. So we did talk about it last week too. Today we'll kind of formalize it more. So you can either call it 1NF if you like, or you can call it the first normal form, defining fields and types. So let's define our fields. Now the first question, if you can remember, a table is said to be in the first normal form if it has a primary key. That was the first requirement. We learned that the last week. Now comes the question of what should I make? What can I make as the primary key of a donut table? What's unique in donuts? Can 2 donuts have the same name? No, not at least in the same company. Like Timmy's won't have 2 donuts being called the same. There will be some difference, right? Now, if the application was only for Tim Hortons, I could say, oh, the donut name will be good enough. But yes, if the application is about donuts, for the donuts lovers all over the world, all donuts available, I'm still assuming that donut names will be unique. You know what I mean? Like, no 2 donuts will have the same name. Yeah, if it was for Tim Hortons and Crispy Donuts, maybe they have the same name. But one application for the 2 companies, which is kind of not very practical. There is another way of doing it. I can think of automatic ID 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and make it the primary key. But I'll restrict myself today because I think most of us are okay with saying that the donut name is unique for a donut, right? So we'll go with donut name. We all know that varchar should do good. Now the size, I don't know, 20ish. What do you say? Not bad. Go 30, right? And I'm going to make it the primary key. So what is a primary key? A primary key is a field which is by default unique. Its value cannot be repeated and it is not null. Both requirements are automatically met. Again, I'll just kind of clarify this. That's how it works in MySQL. And I think that's also how it works in Oracle. But I can guarantee that not null is also automatically a definition. If it is not, all you add is you add not null with the primary key. But in MySQL, primary key means that it is not null and it is unique in nature. There is also only a reserved word unique. Unique means every value is unique in it, right? And null is a unique value. So you may only have unique, use it, but you can put a null value in it. But if you say unique, not null, then actually it is the same definition. But you can make fields, you can make a field the primary key, and in other fields you can say unique, not null, unique, not null. That's okay, that's fine. So you can find a way around of making, of kind of enforcing the rule of unique and not null. But remember, a table can only have one primary key. That one primary key can either be a single field like mine, or it can be a group of fields. So I could have taken, I don't know, name and type together, though it's not very helpful. Okay, having said that, let's go a step ahead. So that's one of my fields, right? Donut type is, I'm choosing to go donut type, which is again something which is relevant. And it will again be a varchar. You can choose again 15 or 20 or whatever you like. And I will kind of say that you have to tell me what is the type of it. So it cannot be null. And the indentation is just me, right? I like to indent my code so that I can read it easily. You could have taken the primary key and put not null here. You could have done the opposite. Nothing stops you. And you can take this primary key kind of away from it. So all not nulls can come together. What else would you like to keep about a donut in a table for donuts? What other field would you like to keep?
Calories.
Calories is a good one. Not bad at all. Price, very relevant, right? Because that's usually what you will, as a customer, you go and you say, give me this donut, the guy makes it, and oh, here you have to pay this much. So he has to pull up the price from somewhere, right? But calories is good enough because it's now, it wasn't a couple of years back, you didn't see them, but now they all advertise the calories and everything, right? So calories could be one. I'll go with donut cost. I'm trying to keep it smaller because the more fields I have, the more I have to type and the more work I have to do, right? So perfectly, calories is there's perfectly, there's nothing wrong in calories. It is a very relevant field for, oops, cost cannot be a varchar. So cost will be a decimal. Remember, we learned that anything that is money should be exact. You can use decimal. What about its parameters? Two places after decimal, we all know. What about cost of a donut? Maximum $10? What do you say? Like in a normal place. If it's specialized, it could go maybe, I don't know, it could go more. I haven't eaten a donut more than $10 yet, but I've not been to specialized places for donuts, so I'm not sure. So you could go 3,2 if you are okay, or you could go 4,2. Right? So 3,2 means 3 is the total size. So the maximum is 9.99 you can save in it. Two places after decimal is kind of given. Cost. And one place before decimal is what I've assumed. Again, you could go 4,2. I don't know. Anybody who's eaten a specialized donut more than $10? Okay. So maybe not of all of you are donut lovers, but I'm just going by normal Timmy shops, right? Again, now this cost, if, as I said, you're keeping information about donuts and the information will be pulled out of here. So you don't want it to be null. And of course, you don't want it to be unsigned. How can you have unsigned cost, right? So as you see, trying to kind of keep them together becomes a little difficult, though it improves readability, but like it's not a big job. And just because I want to show you the enumerated data type today, it's just for me. I'm asking the people to give it a rating. So that, and it's common. When you eat something, if you go and, oh, what's the rating of it? Sometimes you'll ask, what's the most popular, which is the most popular one you kind of sell? which sells the most. So I'm going to do a rating here, and I'm going to use the NM type. Some people, so you may ask a customer, can you rate it, right? So you could ask it, or it could be a 0 value, which means no rating was given. So I'm kind of going 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, it could be anything. You could go till 10, but I think I'll call it a short here. That's more than enough. Now the 0 is just because nothing was given. The customer didn't give it a rating at all, right? And again, it is enumerated. I've already defined the strings. I don't have to say not unsigned or whatever. If you want, can it be null? Yeah, it doesn't really matter. People may just not say anything. So it may just be a null value. You can assign a null value to it. Or if you like, you can also assign it a default value. And the default could be 0, because default 0 means, oh, no, I mean, no information was given. So you could, if you like, combine the default with primary key. I mean, not necessarily, but it's up to you, just to keep it different. So again, if you see that they're not kind of aligned, and this can become very, very tedious, but it's up to you. You don't have to. And you know what? I'll also stop doing it after a while, because as I said, it's more tedious than anything else. There. So my rating is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 string values. Internally, they are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's their internal index values. If you can't remember that, please make a note for yourself. The enumerated constants, they are called. Okay, these are called constants. 0, 1, 2, 3 have to be strings. They're called string objects, right? That's a must, should be. It's a rule, right? And just for your information, they have an internal index value of 1, 2, 3, and so on and so forth, which is integers, right? They have an internal integer index value, so that you know. So internally they have, but you don't want to work with internal values. I mean, the whole purpose is lost. You've created enumerated constants because you want to make it more readable. Here, the 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is kind of numbers, but names of months, weekdays, seasons, semesters in their college, those are not kind of so easy to kind of, go by 1, 2, 3. But you have to remember that the enumerated constants should be string objects. You can't do it without it. Of course, you cannot repeat it. We've already done that. Should be unique. Let's write unique here so that you don't forget. We've already kind of figured that out from our last assignment. They should be unique. The order doesn't matter. But internally, the first one gets 1, the second one gets a 2, the third one gets a 3, and so on. And of course, the default value must be 1 of the list. And you can give it a default value that's not in your list. Doesn't make sense. Okay? So that's what enumerated are, if you can remember this way. But for all purposes, I'm going to use enumerated constants like what they are, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with quotes. If you don't use them with quotes, things will not work correctly, and I'll prove it to you. I'll show it to you. Oh, the answer is incorrect, right? So be careful. Okay, now the last thing, not the last thing, the next important thing, populate the data with table. Most probably from next week onwards, you will not be required to do the population because it takes a lot of time. But just for today, since it's just our second class, if you kind of think about it, we'll do it one more time, show you a couple of insert statements again so that you know what it is. I'm going to insert all the fields into the table. Oh, forgot the name of the table. Remember, so if you do this, you do not give a list, then you have to give 4 values in the order of the table structure, right? So 4 values for every record have to be provided. Same sequence. Some people just don't like it, which is perfectly fine. Then you can start saying insert into this and you can give your own field list. I'm not giving a field list. So to remind you, if there is no field list, 4 values in the order. Okay, so you can copy mine if you like. That way yours and mine answers will be same, but nothing stops you from putting whatever you like. Now, when you put in cost, when you populate the data, though you can say 2.5 and it will automatically become 2.50, don't put data that like looks silly. 2.5 is not a price. 2.50 is the right way of doing it. But it will still be saved as 2.50. Maybe if you want to be lazy, oh, I don't want to put a 0. Sure, go ahead and do it. It just doesn't look neat. And please notice that I'm putting my rating in quotes. So I'll kind of remind you, text data in quotes, numeric data without quotes. Things can be different and they may work, but my assignments will always ask for this rule and there will be marks for it. Maybe it's only a mark, but there will be. Text and enumerated constants in quotes. Believe me, they work without quotes. If they work, you can do them without quotes. But there is a reason why I'm saying in quote. One, they'll usually be strings. Like, as I said, there won't be numbers. They'll usually be strings. Maybe, you know, January, February, March, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. They'll usually be strings. So you have to put them in quotes anyway. But if you don't put them in quotes, think of what is happening. If I don't put it in quotes, it's not going to give me an error, but think of what it is happening. You're saying the constant here that I want to put has an internal index value of 3. So 0, 1, 2 is how you were started. So which one has an internal value of 3? This one has an internal value of 3, the number 2. So there is confusion, right? So you can use 3, but you're actually not putting 3 inside it. What's being saved inside it is the value 2. Because an integer means you're using the internal index value. So don't even think about it. Use your enumerated constants with quotes. You'll say, oh, how does it matter? It's okay. I'm using 3. When I write my queries, I'll work with internal index values all the time. Why should you do that? When you drive a car, do you think of, oh, what's happening inside the engine? When I press the brake, this is what is that? No, you don't. You just you use the interface, the outside. You're not concerned you're not concerned in the sense, you're not so interested in, you don't want to brake by going and opening the engine and braking it from there. You just use your interface, the outer thing. So for you, the outer thing is this. That's what your outer is. Use the outer like outer. Just use it, what is provided to you. Don't bother about the internal values because they do create a little problem, and I'll show you. That's my first one. The second one that I'm putting is just because I'm going to work with apples a lot today. So I kind of repeated the apple just because I need to work with what there could be. I don't know. There is something called apple crawler. I can say $2 will automatically be 2.00. And I'm again going with 3. I have to put 4 values, right? So you can fill in whatever you like. If you would like to match your answers with mine, and I know my answers are correct because I've already run the script, I would recommend that you just go with mine. And we can put it as a null just for your information. I didn't say not null for rating. You'll say, oh, you don't have to give it a default value of 0. Null will mean, oh, it is not defined. Yep, that can be another approach. It may not have a default value at all. Because null, if a user doesn't give anything, you can put null in it. And null means it was not given. But again, keep something in mind. Null means undefined and 0 means 0. So they're two different things. If you don't want to use default 0, perfectly fine. I wanted to do it because I want to show you how 3 in quotes is different from 3 without quotes. So I needed that extra 0. If I didn't have this 0, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 internally are also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know what I mean? And you can also say default null if you like here. So if the user doesn't give you anything, you can go default null, I think for sure, which is the default. Not if you don't say not null, the default is null. So you don't have to give a default at all with your thing. It's just to revise what we did last week. So you saw default, I'm giving it a default. It's not necessary. You can just leave it. The null is default. So you can put a null value because I didn't say it was not null. I'm going to take the next one as caramel. I'm going to say ring. And you have not seen this, but let's do this. I'll give it a default value of $2 in the sense that, oh, if nothing is given, it's default, just for the heck of it. Because I want to show you that you can use, actually you can use the word default as a valid value in data. So what will it do? It will pick up the default value and put it. You could have typed it. You'll say, why do I even use this insert statement? I could have used one where I don't put the cost. Sure, you can do that too. But if you're kind of writing one insert and you're just going all, and you don't want to put a 2 there, or you don't want to put a value there, you can say, oh, take whatever its default value is. So you can use the word default, okay? And I have given it a rating of 4. The next one is jelly. Oops, my mistake. Caps lock went on. It's a filled one. I've given it a price of $1.50 and I've given it a rating of 2. Maple ring, a popular one. I've given it $2.25 just to show you that, oh, things can be different. And I've given it a rating of 5. Now keep in mind, I cannot repeat any of these names again. All these names have to be unique. Why? Because I'll do it for you and then I'll show you the error. I'll just kind of take this record and repeat it. Put a semicolon. And let's save this and let's run it. You don't even have to run it. You see, there is a cross right here. But if you run it, it says you have, oh, the error is something else. The error is something else. Okay, it wasn't that smart. Okay, so let's run it. And you will see duplicate for maple, which we know we can do it. We know that, right? So you cannot have duplicate values for this. So definitely, so I'll leave it here just so that you can remember when you see scripts. We'll put a semicolon here. You can put a note for here. And you can say no duplicate for name. And just so that you don't forget your other insert statements, which you tend to forget. Oops. You can, if you like. So the donut name was required. Strange, it's not giving me help. What did I do? Somewhere in my options, I've kind of said, stop giving me help or something. And the control space bar usually works in other languages. That's not helping. As soon as I start typing, it should give me a help list. It's so much work doing. And again, the name, the sequence doesn't matter. You know that. You could give the type first and you could give the, oops. You could give the type first and you could give the name afterwards. So you chose only to give 2 fields, which is perfectly fine. Why will this work? Because the other 2 have default values. Though one of them is not null. The cost is not null, but it has a default value. So that will work. The other one can be null anyway. So that will work too. So let's put something here. And I'll just go with Nutella, my favorite, and yeast. There. What will happen in this one? Cost will become 2. It's a not null field, but it has a default value. So cost will become 2. And what was the last one? Rating. That also had a default value. Even if it didn't have a default value, it will work because it was not null. It could be null. So even that will work. Having said that, let's see if things work. So the best way to see if things work are select all the records. And we've done this before. And let's see if it runs. So save it and run it. And pay attention to values. The last one, Nutella yeast, $2 was the default and 0 was the default. Your ratings, 3, 4, 2 are coming what you gave them. Keep in mind, they are not integers, they are strings. The donut price, anywhere you gave a 2 became a 2.00. You can try the 2.5 without the 0. That will work too. But I mean, it's up to you. It's very untidy for me. The types are okay. The names are okay. And that means I'm fine with at least the table. Now our aim today is to learn select statement in its various formats. You can say flavors or whatever you want. So now all of us should know or do know how to create a database, how to create a table, how to populate it with data, and how to extract all the information. So we should be clear about this. So maybe next week onwards, I will stop doing these jobs. I'll give you the database creation, the table creation, and the data so that you don't kind of save time in class. You can save time in class. Okay, so that's done, more than enough to kind of give you an idea. If I have to go with a new type, then I'll explain the new type. Okay, now let's learn some videos. Now, under most circumstances, you may not be interested in all the records of the table. You would like to filter them. I'm only interested in donuts that have price 2 or have a cost greater than 2. Or I'm looking for all donuts that are of type ring. Like there could be anything, right? I only have less than 10 records, but we are not talking less than 10 records in a table in a database. We're talking many records. Or I may like to do a match. Do you carry apple fritter? I go and ask them, do you carry, or I call them, do you carry apple fritter? So they open up their database and they give in a query. You know what I mean? So we'll start learning more of this filtering of records, it is called. You're choosing records. Also, you may not be necessary in all the fields. You would like to maybe see the name and the cost. So we will also learn how to only choose the fields that you're interested in. So instead of star, we'll do that. So let's start learning, and that learning will take time, of course, but let's start learning. Let's try to see how to filter records. It's called filtering records using exact match. As the name suggests, exact match means exactly matches with the equal. Right? So equal is used for exact match. So exactly should match exactly. Now it could be case sensitive or not case sensitive. We'll talk about that. But exact match means that spelling character to character must match. Okay. So let's try to do a select statement. So let's select. So just so that you know what I'm doing, I'm kind of right. So I'm going to select the apple fritter record. Okay. So select. Now we'll do the star for now just because we'll do it a little by little, right? From, I'm just putting it in different lines just because it kind of is. You'll see that select becomes complicated. Select from, where, order by, group by, and so on and so forth. So just to keep them in different lines, you don't have to, you could write one line and it will be fine. All you have to do is terminate it by a semicolon, and that's the end of your statement. So in SQL, it's the terminated. You end your statement with a semicolon. Okay, now where? Because you have to select, you have to filter. What are you looking for? You're looking for that the donut name is equal to apple fritter. Now for your information, by default, searches are case insensitive. They're case insensitive. So apple fritter doesn't matter, A, capital F, small, whatever, doesn't matter. But of course, the spellings matter. Blanks matter. You just can't say apple blank blank. It has to be exact match. Though, I can show you that, oh, you can put extra blanks at the beginning or the end, and I'll show you how you can do it. But that's what I'm saying. Give me anything that has apple fritter in it. So now, since I've already run the script once, one by one, you can just pick up a query and run it. That way you're only seeing one answer at a time. There it is. That's the record of apple fritter. So you can select the query, run your query, run the script once so that the database gets created and the table gets created and it's populated, and then just keep running the queries, select them and run them. Because you're just wasting time dropping the database, and though it's not a big deal, but why, right? So that works. This will not work. Try this. Put another extra blank in apple fritter and run it again. You will have an empty table. No answer. Exact match means exact match. So what exact does is you can, it is case insensitive, that's fine. Even leading blanks and trailing blanks will not work. So there is a way of at least taking care of that, and I'll show you. Empty table again. So empty table doesn't mean, oh, something is wrong. The answer is right. There is nothing called blank, blank, blank apple fritter. So sometimes empty table could be a right answer and sometimes it could be a wrong answer. It's up to you. But just to show you that you can, if you like, remove leading and trailing blanks can be removed. Right? Trailing blanks and leading blanks can be removed. And how do you remove them? There is a trim function available. And you can put extra blanks in the front, you can put extra blanks at the back, but not in the middle, only leading and trailing. And it will still work. It will give you the right answer. I will still see apple fritter. You know what functions are, right? Functions, or you know what methods are from Java. So it's basically somebody has written the code for trim. So trim has been defined to work like this. It removes the leading and the trailing blanks before it works with its argument. So it takes its argument, if you notice, it has one argument, it's a string. It's a string function. Trim is a string function. It takes one argument, a string, and it will remove all the trailing and the leading blanks before it uses it. So it becomes apple fritter. That's what trim does. It's not saving it anywhere. It's not changing the data in the table, nothing. Just before use, so trim is a function. It's just a function. It's just a function. You can look it up and it's very easy again. Anytime you want to look up string functions, I would just go string functions. MySQL. There is a whole long list. There they are. These are string functions. So you have string comparison functions, then regular expressions, and so on. I don't think we do regular expressions in the first course. So there is a length function. There is a bin. Some of them concat. Some of them will make sense to you by looking at them. Lower, convert everything into lower. Left trim will only trim from the left-hand side. Right trim will only trim from the right-hand side. The one I am using is called trim. So PQRST, there it is, the trim function. And there it is explained. It has been explained. Returns the string with all REMSTR prefix is or suffix is removed. That means everything is removed. Anything, if none of these specifiers, both leading or trailing, is given, both is assumed. Is optional, if not, spaces are removed. So you can remove spaces or you can remove something else also, like commas, anything. So if you want, you can say remove both, trim leading, trim trailing. I don't know if you know how to read manuals, but I'll explain. So trim has a round brackets before and after. So it's enclosed in parentheses, round parentheses. Inside there you see that both slash leading slash trailing pipe character, all three of them have been put in curly brackets. So what it is saying is you can choose one of them. You can say both, you can say leading, you can say trailing, and curly bracket says any of these three or none at all. They're optional, right? So because you see a square, do you see the square? So square says it's optional. So anything in squares is optional. Anything in curly brackets is choose one of them. So they're optional. I didn't choose anything. I didn't say both. I didn't say leading. I didn't say trailing. Then comes the rem string, which is again optional, right? So rem string says that you can remove. So example here it says leading X. Remove the leading X from XXX bar XXS. So the answer will be bar XXS. You can remove a particular character and you can mention this is the character I want to remove. And it says from, the word from is optional. I didn't use it either. And of course, the string from which you want to trim, that has to be given. And in its easiest form, you can say trim, remster from string. So the word from, rem string, leading, trailing, both one of these is all optional. So I used it in its easiest form. I used trim. I didn't say both leading, trailing. By default, it is both. I wanted to remove blanks, so I didn't give the character I wanted to remove. And I didn't use the word from. You could have said from apple fritter. So this is its. So anything in square is optional. Anything in curly brackets is one of them. And the round brackets are the beginning and the end of the function. It's its parenthesis. And this will work, and it has worked. So this is still case insensitive. Now, if you wanted to make it case sensitive, what if you want to look for exactly case sensitive search? You'll say, I mean, it's important for whatever reason. Then you'll have to do a little more thing. It's not a big thing, but you have to add a collat statement with it. Are you aware of what collating sequences are? Every character set that you use, whether it's ASCII, Unicode, ABCD, every character set gives a unique number to every character. So for example, small a is 97, I think, and capital A is 65. They have ASCII values, right? Everything has a value, anything in the character set. It could be a Latin character set, it could be an English character set, but every character defined has a number, a unique number. And when I compare something, it looks at that number. So it says, oh, small a is bigger than capital A. Why? Because it's 97 and that's 65. Space is 20. Most of you know that. Space is 20, right? Blank is 20. So this is called the collating sequence. So if you like, for the whole script, you can use a set statement maybe to change it. I have never done it. You can use it. There should be a set statement. I'm assuming there should be a set statement to change the collating sequence in the whole script. So maybe you are writing, you want to use the Latin one, or you want to use the Polish one. You can do that. But what I'm doing here is I'm only doing the case sensitive one. I'm not interested in any other language. For me, English is okay. So I go collat, and I'm going to use a UTF. That's the name. And notice here are the availabilities. So there is a Czech one, there is a Danish one, there is an Estonian one, a general one, which is actually the default. There is a German too, there is a Hungarian, and so on and so forth. And they're all saying UTF-16, but my reading says, or maybe the UTF-8s are mentioned below. Yeah, there they are. So UTF-8 For case sensitiveness, it is UTF-8 underscore bin for binary, which kind of tells you, oh, ignore the case. If you say that that's the collating sequence I'm using, then it becomes case sensitive. So for your information, the default is, just so that you know, the default is UTF-8 underscore general CI. Spelling of general is wrong. That's the default. So when I don't say anything, that's the default for your information, just for your information. That's the default. UTF-8 underscore general underscore CI. When I change it, now it won't be able to find apple fritter in your code. You say everything is right. The spelling is right. There are no extra blanks. You can always use trim if you like. Just a good habit to use trim with your strings. But I mean, I've just written it. I don't see any spelling mistake. I've exactly done it as it is in the table. Still, my table is empty. Why? Because the apple fritter in your table has a capital A and has a capital F. Now you'll be able to find it. There it is. So that makes it case sensitive. So for whatever reason, if you would like to do case sensitive searches, or if you want to do searches using another language, you have a set command and that set will work on your whole script. This one is only working on this particular query. So you can only make it query specific or you can make it script specific, whatever works. Okay, let's save that. So is that clear? That's a like match, exact match. So use trim because trims are kind of recommended with string data. At least they remove the trailing and the leading blanks. Not only blanks, as I said, you can remove trailing and leading whatever character. You can use any, but exact match is exact. Character to character. That's what it is. Therefore, you use the equal to sign. There is also something called inexact matches. So suppose I want to look for a display. This is only display. Records with Apple in their name. So what happens with Apple in their name? When you do inexact match, you have to use like. You have to use the like operator. Instead of equal, you use the like operator. Okay? And you use wildcard characters. Now, what are these wildcard characters? Right? We'll do two of them. There is a percentage and there is also an underscore. What does percentage do? I'm using percentage in this one. Percentage is a placeholder. Placeholder means anything. It's a place. You can put it. Put anything in this place for 0 or more characters. So if I wanted to do a select and I want to say, oh, the donut name is like Apple, I'll use like here, right? And notice how I'll say Apple. I'll say anything before Apple, anything after Apple. Really doesn't bother me as long as it has Apple in its name. So the percentage before the Apple is saying, oh, anything can occur before Apple or nothing may occur, 0 or more characters, right? 0 or more. And the end one says 0 or more characters. So is it necessary to put them at both sides? No, not necessary. I'll show you more examples. Suppose you want to say it starts with Apple. Then you could write it like this. It only starts with an apple. There's nothing before it. Right? You can write it like this. It ends with an apple. You'll remove. So anything before is okay. But the most important thing to remember in like is this. They are useless without wildcard characters. They're useless. If you don't put them and you're saying like, what are you saying? You're kind of doing a match with, you're trying to do an equal match, which is incorrect. When you use equal when you want to do an exact match. You do like when you do a inexact match. And a like has wildcard characters. Otherwise, it kind of becomes useless. So let's try that too. Let's see what happens. So syntactically, it's fine. Oops. Syntactically, it won't say anything, but it's kind of useless. It's like you shouldn't be using like there at all. You should be using the equal sign there because you're doing an exact match, right? Let's try them one by one. Anything that has apple inside it. Apple fritter and apple both have apple inside it, right? Anything that starts with an apple. Both of them start with an apple. Anything that ends with an apple. The fritter will not come because it's not ending with apple. It's ending with fritter. So the last 5 characters are apple is what it is saying, which is only the apple one is the only one and no blanks or anything, right? And then this one, look at this one. This will also only give apple, but like it's useless. So like without wildcard character is useless or is incorrect in a sense. It's incorrect in a sense. Or I mean, it's just because you're doing an exact match. It's an exact match. So you're using the wrong operator. Right? Now that doesn't mean that, oh, I can only use it at the end or the whatever. You can kind of use it wherever you like, as many times as you like. I could be doing something like this. Donuts with jelly maple, AP. Okay. With AP in their name. So I'm thinking of maple, okay? So I want AP in the name. Anything before it, anything after it. So the maple one will also now be included. I knew there was an AP. So again, anything, like anything, or you can say something like this. It has, like though it's not so silly, but you can even put a percentage here, which is not a lot, but it is saying anything before A, anything after A, then there is a P somewhere, and then after P. So this will still work. Because remember, the percentage stands for 0 or more characters. So you could say, oh, why did I do it for ends with apple and starts with apple? Because it is 0 characters. And it will work if I do it like 0 or more characters. But when I don't want anything after it, then I have to remove it. Otherwise, apple fritter will also come. So you have to be careful of it just starts with apple or it just ends with apple. So ends with apple, you have to just not put the percentage after the apple. It ends with apple. The starting one you could write either way because it's 0 or more characters. Okay, so there it is. Like I'm just trying to show you that that you know what, there is an A in the name and there is a P in the name. So let's change it with an A or a P in their name. And sorry. There is an A in their name and there is a P in their name. That's all I am looking for. Doesn't matter where it is. Right? Doesn't matter where it is. But there is an A in their name and there is a P in their name. Okay? So of course, only those three are coming up because that's the only maple it is. Okay? So that's the exact match and the like match. We'll take a break. We'll take a 20-minute break and then we will move forward. So this is the exact and the inexact matches at least. We've done equal to and the like. Then we'll do more. Of course, there's a lot to do, but anyway, we haven't finished yet because I haven't shown you the wildcard character underscore, but I need a break too. So I'll give you a break too. Okay. Yeah.
Let's check my chart because I think it runs, but
Somewhere there is a problem. It says right from day one, but it runs.
yeah, it runs.
So why are we seeing all these red squid marks? Run it for me.
Yeah. You can see the timer here.
Strange, right? I don't know.
I don't know why.
Yeah. Oh, I see a error for sure. There is an error code somewhere. Okay, so collide sequence. Okay. Remove that semicolon from there. Yeah, because you should only end it once. Okay, so that's taken care of that one. Let's come to before that. Do we still have errors before that? Yeah. It's really strange. But are they showing? Okay, run it again. Clear this. Do an action, right click clear. No, come to the action. Yeah, okay. Let me, yeah, run it. Okay, show me this window up to down. Then bottom one. That's strange.
Yeah, I can figure out this two out.
These are warnings. These are just warnings. It says no zero data. You can ignore that SQL mode.
Okay.
Unknown table. Oh, yeah, because you're trying to drop a table and it does not exist. So these are okay. But why are we seeing that red? Bring your mouse to red squiggly. Does it say anything? No. That is strange. I've never seen it. Which means you can't ignore. So always check this, that there are no reds here.
Okay.
Right? So that you know that everything is okay.
So I can ignore this line.
Yeah.
Just check this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, that's very odd, but
Thank you.
you're welcome. Unless you've done something in your setting which says, but that's really strange. Why would you do that? Yes.
This link with the trim function, what should it return? Because it gives me nothing.
What's with the trim function?
Yeah.
It won't give you anything. It takes your code, it takes
Okay.
your string and removes any. So if you look for apple fritter, but you put more blanks before apple and extra blanks after fritter, it will still find it.
Yeah, the point is it doesn't find it.
It doesn't find it. Okay, let me look at your code.
Okay.
Let's see if we go. Go to. Is this one run? Show me just this one. Run the whole script once. Just view the whole script. Maybe you change some. Okay, now just run that script. Just that one. Come down and just run that one. The one before. Yeah, one without the trim and then one with the trim. So one before the trim, just select that one and run it for me. You just have to do it with the same thing. Okay, so there is app and filter. Okay, now let's try the trim. That's strange. We're doing it means we're not getting an error, right? When you run it, can you take the action and clear it? Clear the window and clear it? Yeah. Okay, now just run the trim one again. No error. Yeah. Okay.
Nothing gonna warning.
That's strange. And the ports are right. The single ports are okay.
Yeah. It changes to green.
Yeah, the only thing is single ports. This one. This one again. Anything else? Okay, let's try to run it again. Save it, please. So everything else is okay. Let's run. There could be some, I know, I'll tell you what happens. Sometimes when you're typing something, by chance, an invisible control character gets typed, which you can't see. There are many characters. So when you were typing, by whatever, you hit something which was not visible but was there.
Maybe I hit something by mistake and then I delete it, but then it's still stored.
No, that's not the case. If you can't see anything, then it is a control character that is invisible. So usually we kind of just read it. Okay? And that happens when you run. So be careful about that. Okay? They are invisible control characters.
Last semester. Sure, yeah. If you're in my class. Yeah. Look at me. No. Yeah. We're all tired. Did you work on the assignment? Yeah. Heard it, but it's really good. I sent him an email and opened it. It's nonsense. Although I've never stuck on an assignment like this before. No, but he saw it. Was implemented in the class. This thing. I just, when I went to class, it told me, okay, so from what you're saying, I guess you're the guy who sent the email. I said, yeah, okay, that's what you mean. But, no. Just screens.
I've already stapled everything into a new station. Sarkar, I really apologize to you.
Okay, let's move forward. Oops. Guys, just give me 1 minute, please. I just have to take this call. Missed call from doctor. I don't see any missed call. Anyway, I may just have to take a call in between. I'm not feeling too well, and I've been kind of seeing the doctor for this week, but I'm not taking a day off just because if I miss a day, I miss quite a bit. So if I have to leave for the washroom break unexpectedly, bear with me, or if I have to take the doctor's call, please bear with me, okay? Because she's still working to see what's happening, okay? Okay, so I'm not very energetic since I came back from vacation. I've got some kind of a stomach infection and it's just not going. I've already had antibiotics twice, so I thought it said missed call and I don't see anything. I don't know. Anyway, I'll do it after the class. Okay, let's look at another wildcard character then. So we saw the percentage, which stands for 0 or more characters. There is one more wildcard character, but that stands for only a single character. So suppose I'm looking for, I don't know. So we have an apple, like it's very silly, but let me show you. So I'm trying to look. It's the underscore, okay? What I'm saying is that there is, so remember how Maple had an AP, AP was together. And when I use the percentage, it worked because percentage means 0 or more characters. So now with Apple, I'm kind of doing a little thing. So let's try to select from the table. So I want to select something like which has, and you can combine. You can just combine percentages and whatever you like. But I'm looking for something that has an AP, and I'll just put an underscore LE. So the only thing it will look for is AP, whatever LE, but one character. So Apple, like replace the underscore by one single character. Now in my data, the only thing that I have is Apple. There is nothing else. But if it was AP, CLE, AP, comma LE, AP, DLE, whatever it was, it would come up, right? So this replaces using the wildcard character that stands for one, only one, but not 0, one character. Right? So I'm only again expecting what? I'm only expecting that I will see the apple, nothing else, because that's the only one which has APPLE. That doesn't mean that you cannot combine it. You can combine, oops, sorry. You can combine wildcard characters, like any number, any sequence, anything, any way you want. I can use 10 of them, single of them, 20 of them, really doesn't matter. So now let's look at this. So now I'm just to show it to you. I can put a percentage here and say something can come before the apple or something can come after the apple. I can do this. Anything can come before the apple. I can do this. But as long as it has anything before AP, one character, any one character, the word LE and any number of characters. So you can combine them. Again, my answers will only be apple and apple fritter because that's the only apples I have. But that's my answer. Right? So percentage stands for 0 or more characters and the underscore stands for a character. So if I'm looking for maple, then it won't work with this because maples, there was nothing between AP and L. But you can combine them in any combination. You can have more than one. A silly one is this. Suppose I want to find, so there is a better way of doing it. So the 5, so anything that's 5, apple is 5, maple is 5, jelly is 5, they have 5-lettered names. So what I'll do is, I can do this. Silly way of doing it, but I can do it like this. Underscore 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I need 5 letters, bless you. I need 5-lettered names. So that's 5 underscores for your information. There is a better way. The better way is to use the length function. Just so that you know. I mean, but there's nothing wrong in it. So anything that is 5-lettered will come up. So apple should come up, jelly will come up, and maple will come up. They're all 5-lettered words, right? So 5 underscore means 5 of them, including blanks. So if I had something like A and blank JU, even that will come up. It's just any character. Blank is a valid character, okay? Now, as I said, a better way would be to use the length function. And if you use the length function, all you have to do is you use the length function. I think it's called LEN, is the whole thing, GTH. And I'm not sure why some functions come in pink and some functions come in blue. The trim function was blue in color. The length function is purple in color. But I don't know why it is, but they will change color. It is color coded. And how much do you want? 5. This way also you'll have the same answer. Right? So that's the underscore. So you can work with the underscore, you can work with the percentage, you can work with their combinations. The only thing you have to remember is underscore says one character only, and percentage stands for 0 or more characters. Okay, that's the difference, 0 or more characters. And again, as I said, you can choose to combine them in any form you like. Okay, so that's the exact and the inexact matches. Let's try to do more. Let me select some fields, not all fields. And if you like, we can also give them names. They're called display names, to display purposes only, okay? And why would you do that? I'll just show you why would you do that. So let's go select. Instead of selecting all the fields, I'm interested in the donut name. Do you have to give them display names? No, not necessarily. But if you want to, you can say as, and in quotes, they tell the name that you want, what you want to call them. I'll show you how it works, okay? Give me a minute. It's a heading. It's a new heading you are giving. So remember, you see your answers. But when you see your answers, notice something. What happens when you see your answers? Look at the name of the headings. These are the same names that you gave to your fields, right? Now, and they're quite good. There's nothing wrong. They're very clear. Donut name, donut type, donut cost, donut rating. It's just that they don't follow English grammar because I can't put a blank in the name. So I am using underscores. And I want to use underscores because I don't want to make it a name. But if you want to give them some prettier display names, now this is just a normal English name with a blank and like D capital and N capital and so on. You know what I mean? Like just a normal name. So you can do that. So you can use as, it's just an alias, a different name. And suppose I want to see the cost of it. So the field was called donut cost. And you don't have to say as, you can simply say without the as. And though, I mean, it's not required, I would go this way. If it was a single word like just donut or just name, then you don't require the single quotes. But I usually just put quotes, then I don't have to worry about, oh, is it a single word? Is it two words? You know, it's just easier. What's the big deal in putting quotes? So give them display names only for display purposes. That's what it is, right? And they can be of any size. There's no grammar here. It's just a name. But of course, you will use names that make sense. And then, of course, let's say from, and let's give the table name. I'm not filtering it. I'm just showing you how it works. You could always add a where. Uh-oh. Spelling of donut cost is wrong, it says. D-O-U-G, donut. What did we call it? Oh, the spelling here is wrong. There's a W here. Okay, there's a W there. So the spelling didn't match. When I wrote the donut cost in my table, I had a W there. And when I used it, I didn't realize it. So since I changed, I'll have to run the whole script. I mean, you could have a donut with two U's, but then the whole purpose is that here, see, this is the result. Look at the result. Look at the names of the headings, the column headings. They look prettier. It hasn't changed anything in the table structure. It's only to display and to make it more human readable. So now it says cost, and in brackets I've put dollars. It could be rupees, it could be euros, it could be anything. But I've specified that I'm talking about prices in dollars. I couldn't put this dollar sign in a numeric field. But to show the user, I can show it with the dollar sign. I can say US dollars, I can say Canadian dollars. You know what I mean? Like I've just made them prettier. So these are called display names. And it is also told you that, oh, I don't have to select everything. I can only select what I want. So you can select some fields and give them display names. As is optional. So I've used it in one and I haven't used it in the other, just so that I could show it to you, right? The display names should be in quotes unless they are single. And so you could, if you like, I could just remove, just for the heck of it, I could do this, just say, I mean, of course, I'll have to remove something. So I could just say name. Now I don't have to put it in quotes and it will work. See, it has name. So then you don't have to put it in quotes. But I prefer to do it, then I don't have to worry about it. No, it's not the worrying, it's just one common rule. So it's okay. Then you don't have to say, oh, do I put it or don't I put it? What's the big deal? Just put it in quotes. Maybe this will also work because it is kind of one word, but it has a special character like opening brackets and closing brackets. So I'm not sure about this. Oh, I see a red squiggly. Right away, I see a red squiggly. See, I see a red mark here. So let's see what the error is. I don't know if it will help me. It just says you have an error. So because I think the dollar sign is special and so are opening and closing brackets, it got confused. So that's why I said, you see, you don't have to bother now. You can use any special character, anything you want, just put it in quotes. So these are for displaying. So you should know that I can choose columns in whatever order you want, may or may not give them display names. It's not necessary. And so select some fields and give them display names, which is optional, right? You don't have to. I mean, I can just say something like this. Like I can just do this, and I can remove the names. Nothing stops me. I can change the sequence. I can put the this donut name afterwards. I can choose to give one a name and not the other a name. Like it's all kind of combinations are possible. It depends on you. Like I can do this. I change the sequence. I show the cost first. I show the name afterwards. I give cost a name. I don't give cost. I mean, like any combinations are possible. Like, I mean, it's not as if you have to give every field a name. I could change order. Choose names if required. I can do anything. Like it's not as if you have to do it kind of stuff. So the cost will show first, and then the donut name will show. But this is all display. Nothing is changing in the table. Keep in mind, this is all select statements are only displaying stuff. That's all they're doing. Okay, that's what they do. Just so that you know, which doesn't mean, oh, can't I do it with where? Of course, excuse me, you can do it with wheres or whatever. I can just combine it with where and wherever. So I could do something like this. Nobody stops you. Like where is something like which you are just using. You can of course use where. I mean, don't think, oh, I can only do one of them. I just do a where here. And you can do something like, oh, we've done so much of donut names that so starts with an apple, but could be anything before apple or after apple, really doesn't matter. It's not case sensitive, so I let it go, but it just looks odd. This is saying starts with an apple, but even if I do this, it will still work because 0 or more characters. So you can do this. You can remove the names if you don't like them at all. Like you don't have to give them names. Like you could just do this. Show me these two fields from the table where donut name is like apple. And this will work. You will have apple and apple fritter. Right? So you can make the combinations. So you have select from where. You've learned these 3 clauses. There is more. But now let's look at relational operators. Let's look at relational operators are available. And of course, Boolean operators. So let's start combining conditions. So let's write compound. This where is a condition? This is a condition. Compound conditions in where? Using Boolean operators. You're aware of the Boolean operators, right? They are in sequence of precedence. They are not and comes in both. You have two kind of ands. You can use this and you can also use this. And or you can use this, you can use this. And the relational operators are greater than, equal to, less than, equal to, not equal to, and there is another not equal to for your information. There are 2 not equals. The last 2 are not equals. Both work. Right, so now let's learn how to write compound conditions. Not a big deal. You've done compound conditions in programming language fundamentals. Like it's just a compound condition. So let's look for something like donuts of type ring. And cost at least 2. At least 2 means 2 or greater. Okay, so we'll have to do a select. We'll do a select star. You can, I mean, if you're only interested in the type and the ring, I'll just go back to normal. In this sense, normal means easier. From the table, and now comes the where. Now writing them in different lines is not required. You could write your select statement in one line, right? It just makes it neater and easier to read. That's all. It's not necessary. Now where the type is ring. So remember the type was called donut type. And it is ring. I'm looking for an exact match. And the cost is at least 2. So it's not necessary to put blanks before and after and relational operator. It just makes it neater. It depends on you. If you don't want to, don't do it. At least means 2 or more. And so if I run it, I don't know what they are, but let's see the answer. So every one of them is a ring and cost greater than or equal to 2. If you remove the equal sign, greater than 2, you will only have one answer. You know the relational operators, right? You can do the same thing. I'll kind of do the same thing. You know the and, we'll do the or. So when you do an or here, you do an or here. That's it. That's all you do. So now we will have more results because it could be a ring or the cost could be greater than or equal to 2. I'm hoping, yeah. So we have more answers, right? So either it is a ring or the cost is greater than 2, which kind of brings everything in. I don't think there was more anything. So everything comes in with this, but that doesn't mean, oh, like it's wrong. It's just what the answer is. Okay, so that's the or operator. And both will work. And with the 2 ands and or with the 2 ors will work. Now let's do the same thing, but I just want to use the not operator. I just want to show you the not operator. How is the not operator used? So the not operator is used with the field name. Right? So if I'm saying that I want my cost to be greater than or equal to 2, that means my cost should not be less than 2. So using the not operator, so just so that you know, not operator is used with a field name. Right? That's how you're not saying not equal here or whatever. The not equal, the not is not a relational operator. So if I wanted to do a not equal, otherwise I would do a relational operator, but that's not what I'm doing. I'm trying to show you that I can answer this by saying and not donut cost is less than 2. So if it is not less than 2, that means it is greater than or equal to 2. I should again have the same answer that I had before. I think 3 of them, I forget now. Yes, 3 of them, there it is. So all those which are ring and their cost is not less than 2. But you don't say and donut cost is less than 2. You know what I mean? You say not donut cost less than 2. So that's the and, or, and the not operator. But that, like, it's just a normal kind of things. Donut, and it's, bless you. I wanted to do this just to show you that both operators work. So you can use this one and it will work. And you can use this one and it will work. All you're saying the cost should not be equal to 2. So both of them should give you the same answer. So 250, 250, 225, of course, is not equal to 2. And whatever is not equal to 2. Now let me show you that rating I was talking about, right? So let's find donuts with rating 3. You could say 3 or above, you could say only 3, whatever you like. You can say at least 3. At least means 3 or more, at most means 3 or less. So if any time you don't know this English, at least or at most, ask. Okay, so see the difference. So I'm going to say select statement. And I'm going to say the rating. And as I said, I'll behave myself and use quotes in my rating. Right? Remember, it is an enumerated constant. I want you to keep it in mind. So let's see if I get the right answer. There were 2 with 3, there was a 4, there was a 5. Looks okay, looks good. Right? Now let's try to do the same thing. And I'll remove the 3. I'll remove the quotes. So say try without quotes for an incorrect answer. Since internal index value is being compared. Why do I have, oh, I forgot my semicolon here. So they look the same and maybe you won't even pay attention. But now look what 3 means is starting from 3. So remember enumerated constants 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and so on. So it started with a 0. So now what will happen? The one that has 2 rating. Hopefully I have something with 2 rating. There. Notice the 2 rating has also come up. Why? Because 2's internal value is 3. So 3 and more, 2 also came up. So now it is using the internal, index value because you've given it as an integer. So when you do this, try without quotes for an incorrect answer, since it uses the internal index value is compared. Oops. Make sense? Why am I kind of emphasizing that use your enumerated constants in quotes? Especially when you're doing numbers, you have to be careful. Otherwise, if they are words, you will automatically put them in quotes. Like it's just by habit that you put strings in quotes. But here it makes a difference. Writing it with a 3, which is a number, also gives me 2 in the answer, which is incorrect. Its rating is not 3 and above. How come it's coming up? Because its internal value is 3. That's why. 0, 1, 2. It's the third element. So beware, right? That's what I was trying to say, that if you don't do it properly, then it won't work properly. Now, let's look for something. I want to compare null values. Compare or look for null ratings. So again, I want to take the rating. Oops. I want to take the rating. And I want to check with null. Now, we do not use equal with null. We either say is null, not equal. So keep in mind, use is or is not with null. You cannot use equal or not equal. This is for your information. And I'll prove it to you. Okay. So let's put a quote semicolon here. So let's put a semicolon here. And let's look. I think one had a null rating. I remember one had a null rating. Let's take it and run it. There it is. Now let's change it and put an equal here. The rating is equal to null, like you would say for equal. And see what happens. No red squigglies. So syntax is okay, but I have an empty table. The answer is wrong. I have one with null rating, but the answer didn't come up because syntax wise, you cannot use equal. You have to use the word is. It's necessary. It's just the syntax. And if I was looking for not null ratings, just to show it to you, if I was looking for not null ratings, I would say is not null. So now everything but that null guy should not come. Which is basically 1 minus that record, the record that is missing. I forget. Chocolate is missing. And again, try the not null. Try the not equal to sign. Either way, whichever you want. Again, no syntax error. But look at the answer. No answer. Right? So you have to be very careful about this. It's a very common mistake students make because it's so like, you know, normal to kind of just say, oh, equal and not equal and use the operators. With null, you cannot use the relational operators. You have to say is or is not. Okay, keep that in mind. Okay, now let's look for the between verb. So find me donuts with prices between or with cost. I'll keep cost. Between 2 and 3 inclusive. Right? Now, one way would be to kind of just write it as if normal as we would use relational operators. Inclusive means, oops. Inclusive means you will include it. So the cost is greater than or equal to 2 and the cost is less than or equal to 3. You have to repeat the field name again. You can't just say greater or equal to 2 and less than. You have to repeat field name again. Keep in mind, another common mistake. So you basically repeat the field name in every condition. Even if it is the same. It's talking about donuts cost in both conditions. Right? So that's how you would say it. Cost is greater than or equal to 2 and it is less than or equal to 3. That's all donuts between $2 and $3. Let's see. Most of them, I think. All of them, I think. So between 2 and 3. That's what I'm getting. Now, just for your information, you can use the between verb for this, which is by default this will say for the above. This means what? Where donut cost, so you use between 2 and 3. Like we say it in English, right? But keep in mind, between will automatically include 2 and 3. That's its nature. So if you don't want to include it, then you don't use the between verb. then you'll have to use the greater than 2 and less than 3. So you can use the between verb for the above. It automatically, by default, includes the limits. I should again get the same answer. 6 rows have been fetched. But of course, if you don't want to do it, then you cannot use between. Keep that in mind. Okay? So that's the between. That's how you compare with nulls and not nulls and so on. And let's now go a little further. Can we order our results? Right? So there is, can we do ordering? So again, I'm just doing a few things here, but that's not the end of it in this sense. So anything could be asked. So you should be aware of, you already are aware of arithmetic operators, right? I've introduced you to and, not and, or. I'm saying it in that order because that's the sequence, I think, in MySQL, or are they brothers, sisters? You can always check up precedence, okay? I keep forgetting, I can't remember them. .4 is coming, 5.7 isn't coming, and I don't know what is this 8.0 reference, man. I'll go to the 5.4. It's not a big deal. I just want to see their precedence. So there is the logical and the not. Oh, not also has 2 symbols. You also have this not. The or is there. XOR is another kind. It's a output is true if the number of inputs that are true are odd in nature. That's what XOR is. But I'm looking for, not that it will be any different, but you should always know the precedence of the operators. Oh God. How difficult it is to tell me the operator's precedence. So I didn't know, but I see that not also has the not symbol. Search. This is really ridiculous. I'm back on the same one. Oh, okay, I have a. Okay, there it is, right? So notice how you have the interval bind. We haven't done all of them, but you are aware of multiplication, division, mod, and all that. These are shift operators. These are bitwise operators. The and, single and single or are also bitwise operators. We have not worked with bit types. Here are your relational operators. Here is the between, case, when, then, else, which you haven't done. We've done between. Here is like. Like is on the same as your relational operators. In is in the same one. We haven't yet done it. Not, and or. So not is highest, then comes and then comes or. Here they don't show not with the not symbol. So maybe this not is for binary, like it's a bitwise operator, not a logical operator. So here it is. So not is higher than and is higher than or. So you should always know your precedence so that when you're writing code, you know what will happen, what. And you should also be aware Anytime you want to change the precedence, you parenthesize it. And relational operators have more priority over Boolean, we are seeing. Okay, let's come back to what we were doing. Okay, let's now do, so as I said, this is not the end. There could be, I mean, I'm introducing you to things and I may remember, oh, I should be able to do this and this, but relational operators, you have to know what they are. You should know likes and the exact match too, which is relational operator. You should know your not, ands, and nots. You can combine nots, ors, and ands in any order more than once in your compound condition. The sequence is not, and or. If you want to change it, all you have to do is parenthesize it in your conditions. Same rules for all languages, same rules for MySQL. Anytime bed mass can be changed by parenthesizing it and changing the order, and similarly for logical operators, right? Or Boolean operators as they are called. What was I saying? Okay, so now let's go to doing a little more. So we have done select from where. Let's see if we can order our results or just show some. Like, so I'll show you a couple of them, maybe 2 of them for sure. Let's order our results. And remember, this is for display. Again, I repeat, theoretically, we have no idea how records are placed or how columns are ordered in a table in a relational database. Theoretically, in black and white, it says, you cannot rely on their order. You may say, show me the first 5 records, you may see some 5. In another run, you may see another 5, and so on and so forth. So theoretically, the order of rows and the order of columns is unknown to us. So if you want to kind of see it in a certain order, we can order it. So let's do the simplest. Let's take all the records from the table and just order them. Now you can order by whatever field you like. You can order them by whatever field you like. And the statement is order by. Right now, we'll go one by one. You can order it by a single field. So you can go donut name. Right? And the ordering will be by donut name. So you should have apple, and then you should have apple fritter, and then caramel, chocolate, jelly, maple, M&O, and Nutella. Maybe this is the order in which I put it, but I can't remember but what it is. For your information, by default, the ordering is ascending. You know, ascending, small to big, right? Ascend, climb up. Which means you don't have to say it, but if you want to say it, for whatever reason, if you want to say it, all you do is you put the word in front of it, ASC, or the whole word ascending. So it's not needed. Not needed. But if you wanted to do it in descending order, if you say, I want to see it in descending order, then you will have to change it. And how do you show it in descending order is you just go DESC. Let's see, it should be in descending order now. So Nutella, maple, whatever. Here are your results. Make sense? That's order by. Can you order by more than 1 fields? Of course you can order by more than 1 fields. So here I know that I have, remember there were many tools, 2, there were many tools. So I'll go with the tools. So I'll show the cost and then I'll show the name. And so this way, so let's do select. Let's only get cost. Let's only get cost and let's only get the name. Just so that you remember that you don't always have to go select star from the table. And now what I'll do is I'll order by cost first. And inside that, I'll order by name. Now you can write ascending if you like with cost, descending, or leave it both, whatever you like. By default, both of them, if you write it like this, nothing with either one of them, then by default, they're both ascending. This is what will happen. Let's see if it works. So if you do this, cost will be ascending, okay? So 2's, 150 was the smallest, then all 2's, and then 225 and 250. But the main thing to be noticed inside the 2's, the apple, the caramel, the chocolate, and the Nutella are in order also of ascending. Right? So this becomes the major, the first field. So the first ordering is done on cost. So it will be first on cost. Inside cost, it will be on name. And of course, you can choose whatever order you want. So if I say, okay, I'm okay with costs coming in ascending order, but I want the names in descending order. This side, so that is only for name, okay? Cost is ascending. So it's per field. Order by, oops. From where did I get that? Oh, from the, choose whatever order for a field has to be done independently. Keep that in mind. Okay. Let's try it. So we should get the same result on the outside, but inside the apple, caramel, chocolate, and Nutella will change. See, it's Nutella, chocolate, caramel, and apple. So the cost remains the same, but inside there, the name has gone descending. And it's up to you. It's really up to you. You can change whatever or however you want it. If you want cost by descending, sure. And inside the name by ascending, sure. You don't even have to say ascending. Depends on you, but you have to kind of do it individually, right? In the sense, one holds for one. So now see, costs have gone from, they have descended. Inside the 2's, they are ascending. And you can change your mind and make them both ascending. So you decide what you want to do, depending upon, of course, what is your requirement. You can make this also descending. Nothing stops you. But notice what I'm trying to show you, that for every field, you have to say it individually. So now inside the 2's, Nutella, chocolate, caramel, apple are descending order. Right? So that's ordering. So you can order by more than one fields. You can order by more than one fields, one field, more than one, any number of fields in ascending or descending order. The default is ascending. Okay, let's do, if I only want to show some number of records, not all. Till now you've learned that select star will show you all records. So suppose I want to show the first 3 records. Right, what will I do? I'll do a select star from the table. And I'll use the limit function. Not the limit function, the limit clause. So now you've learned select this from this, where this, limit this. So that's another one. That doesn't mean, oh, you cannot use where. You can still use your where. So what will limit do? I'll start with the simple one. I'm just giving limit 2. We'll show the first, 3 I said. We'll show the first 3 records. Now here, will the first three records will always match what you entered? I can't say yes, because I've already said that the ordering of the records is unknown, right? So we don't know. Will they always be the same three records? But if you can also write the same statement like this, just so that you know. It can have another parameter, the 0, which is the default. So this is actually offset, comma, how many. And since I didn't write offset in the first one, you of course know that the offset is 0. Offset is 0 by default. Offset is like saying, how many do I leave from the beginning? I'm saying don't leave any. So it will do the same thing. Don't leave any will show me the first three records. I should have the same answer. Let's see if we have the same answer. Apple fritter, apple and chocolate. But again, like you can if you like. We can even say relational database. I'm not sure if it's only MySQL because of the engine it uses. I don't see anything in the manual, so I'll pick up the row order from here, from stack. Here it says that, note that no order by clause is given. My question is, does MySQL give any guarantees to which order the result sets rows will be given? More specifically, can I assume that the rows will be returned in insertion order, in the order that I inserted them, right? And the answer is duplicate kind of, it was a duplicate question. So we'll click on this. It just says a lot of SQL code I've read. It seems like the developer assumes that the default sort order always holds. For example, when building, no, not something I'm looking for. Here, there is by definition no default sort order in SQL complaint databases, right? So most databases can and will return records in a different order depending on the nature of the query or even the state of the indexes. I'll tell you what an index is. At a time a similar query is executed, you must always specify the order you want the data in, assuming order is important. But the limit, so if you want it in a certain order, there is no default order. So if there is no default order, are they, when you say limit, will they come in some other order? No idea, right? But what is an index? Since it has come up, what is an index? Oh, that reminds me, I must tell you something else also, right? What is an index? An index is like the index of a book. You go to the back of the book, you say, oh, I'm looking for the word integrated. It says page number 10, right? So you go to page number 10. That's what an index is. So by default, on a primary key, an index is always created on a primary key. You can create more indexes if you like by the create index command, which you will learn in your advanced course. But by default, there is an index. And what is the use of an index? We all know that sorting makes searching easier. Whether it be a dictionary, whether it be a phone book, whether it be an index of a book. If I say, oh, look for the word integrated in a book, will you go page by page and look for it? Ridiculous. What will you do? You will go to the index, you will look for integrated there, you will say, oh, it's available on pages number 10, 26, and 36. And that's what an index is. So they are saying there is no guarantee in the order in which they will be shown. So if you would like to see records in a particular order, please sort them. And that's why the ordering is important. In case of limit, I kind of put 2 and 2 together, but the limit 3, so I don't know how they're saved. They're showing the same order, but I have no clue, right? So we can kind of guarantee. Okay, let's try to show now or display records 2, 3, and 4. So I have to leave the first one. If I have to leave the first one, my offset should be 1. And how many do I need to show? 3. You can say 4 and 5, or you can just say 2, whatever you like, so that you understand that this is offset 1 means leave the first record. So instead of 0, you can use an offset of 1. So leave the first one and then show me how many? 3. So records number 2, 3, and 4. So apple fritter should go away according to what we are seeing. And apple, chocolate, and caramel joins it. So they are coming in the order in which we inserted. But again, I repeat, you can again, I just Googled it with you. I just picked up it was not the official manual, but see if you can find the something in the manual and see if it tells you something in the manual that helps us to say more by. You can go by order by clause, which will not help a lot, I think. So there is an order by optimization and so on, but it's kind of a, so you can use of indexes and so on, and it's talking more of it. Let's say limit, if limit helps. If limit tells us something. Here, limit query optimization. So if you need only a specified number of rows from a result set, this is called a result set. What you see in the display is called a result set. Use a limit clause in the query rather than fetching the whole result and throwing. MySQL sometimes optimizes a query that has a limit row count clause and no having clause. We haven't done having, so you can ignore it. Okay, if you combine limit with order by, MySQL stops sorting as soon as it has found the first row count rows of the sorted result. Oh. So it stops sorting as soon as it has found how many do you want, rather than sorting the entire result. So the limit and the order is kind of, it has its own thing, but it's not saying anything. Doesn't say anything at all. So if you combine it with order by, it stops sorting as soon as it has found the first these many rows of the sorted result. Let's see. So, but it should still be sorted, right? Okay, so I can't say anything about limit, but that's what I have read. I don't see it. If I find it somewhere, I'll show you. But for us, it is showing how it is, but you should understand that there is no, and you've read that, it says there is no guarantee that in which order will the results be shown, which means you don't know how they will be shown. What it is saying, and what I want to try is this. Can you order, and which I'm doing. Let's try to do this. Let's try to use order and display. If you combine limit with order, MySQL stops sorting as soon as it has found the first 3 rows of the sorted result. Okay, let's try it. Let's not do the 1, 3. Let's just do 3. Okay, let's do an order by. Do you want to do an order by cost just because it's a little different? So there was a 150, there was a 2, and then there was a 2, right? So we can see that. So ordering by cost and showing the first 3 of that. It says stops ordering after that, but I don't know. I mean, we can't see it anyway. So here is the ordering by cost. It seems to work. I mean, I've ordered it by cost, but if I try to do something like this, does it still hold? If I say 1, 3, so the 150 should go away, and I should see a 2, 2, and a 2. There were 3 2s, right? Let's try that. Yeah, it is. But I mean, internally it says as soon as it finds the records, you say, how many do I want? It stops sorting, which is not our concern, but that's what it is saying. So both are working okay. This was working. It was showing you the first 3. And this one is also working. It is leaving the first one and showing you the first three. But I was trying with names and it wasn't working too well. So bear with me while I test it with you. So apple should come first, and then apple fritter should come, and then caramel, and there was chocolate. Okay, so that seems to be working. This was not the order in which I gave. I gave apple fritter first. Now let me try the same thing with 1-3. It was kind of behaving odd yesterday, but anyway. So leave the first one and give me the 3. So apple should go away. Yeah, it is working. Okay, I don't know. Something yesterday wasn't working well. And if you will give me a minute, I tried it and something was not correct. I wanted to bring to your notice because it is important that you see that sometimes it's not how it behaves. Was that I trying ascending or descending? No. Seems like I was doing it with cost only. But yesterday it wasn't behaving too well. No, it is fine. Donut cost 222. Maybe I was looking at names and that's what was confusing me. Anyway, so we are good. So this combination will kind of be always, the combination will kind of tell you, oh, I will always get the same 3 records. You know what I mean? So if you order it and then you pick up the records, then it will always be the same answer because you're ordering it before you are picking it up. But otherwise, limit as per se, there is no set order in terms of how it will show up, right? So here I've said display. Oh, did I copy? Are my display records 2, 3, and 4 is fine. Order by and display 2, 3 records is fine. And then, oops, no, this is wrong. And then what I have is it is working fine. I mean, but ordering by ensures that I'll always get them in the same order, right? So that's one way of ensuring that you have it in the same order. But otherwise, ordering has, I mean, there is no guarantee of it. Okay. So this is what I wanted to do today, but I missed something and it just came to my head while I was doing it. And I would like you to know it because it's important. Important in the sense I wanted to talk about it. Now, I said that my table is in the first, a table is said to be in the first normal form if and only if, oh my God, if and only if it has a primary key and none of the fields, remember we talked about it, has repeating data. So a good example of repeating data was the favorite sites you did. It had repeating data. Site number 1, site number 2, site number 3. Repeating doesn't mean same yahoo.com, 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 same type of data, right? Similarly for job desired, repeating data. Now, or in some books or somewhere you can also say, instead of saying if none of the fields has repeating data, they can also say all fields are atomic. Atomic means single, cannot be broken down, which again means cannot have more than 1 pieces of data. Of these two, this one makes more sense. None of the fields has repeating data because atomic could be taken differently. I was giving you an example of the address. So in banks, the bank databases want to keep their addresses of their customers in different fields. Street number, maybe whatever, house number, street, city, province, and country. And that's perfectly fine. On the other hand, maybe a pizza guy, a guy who sells pizza locally, pizza, will just have a field called customer address, because every time you call, you say, this is my phone number. He picks up your address and he says, okay, we'll be delivering it, right? So he doesn't see the need of saying which province you belong to, which country you belong to. He just says 1 Georgian Drive, kind of, because he doesn't supply, I think, outside Barrie even. Or maybe he does, but all he's interested is in his 1 Georgian Drive, if it is our college. You know what I mean? So in that case, will you say, is this repeating data? It's not repeating data. It is more than one pieces of data. So it's not atomic in nature. There is 1 Georgian Drive Barrie. So there are 3 pieces of data. They're not, you can't assume them to be repeating because the nature is different, but they're not atomic also. Atomic means cannot be broken down, but it can be broken down into 1 Georgian Drive Barrie. So therefore, instead of saying that the fields are atomic in nature, the definition that makes more sense is that there is no repeating data in the field. But I still keep that all fields are atomic because this is what you will find in some books. So atomic means maybe the application doesn't need it to be atomic. So may be atomic or need not be atomic. But atomic doesn't mean, oh, cannot be broken down. Take atomic to mean repeating. Take atomic to mean repeating kind of data. So stick with this definition that it should have a primary key, which our table has. And there should be no repeating data in any field. So do you see any repeating data in donut name? There is only 1 donut name. Do you see anything in donut type? No. Donut type cannot be of 2 types. Donut cost? No. A donut can only have a cost. Donut rating? No. A donut can only have a rating. So you don't see repeating data in any of these fields. So this table is purely in first normal form. Whereas the previous one we did last time with student ID, it was not in first normal form. It was halfway partial. This is in first normal form. And for your information, from design point of view, this is the minimum requirement of every table in a relational database. Every table must be in the first normal form. This is minimum. There are better forms, and of course you should always go for better, because the better it is, the better design it is, the less maintenance it is. And of course searches and all that are more easier. We know that. So therefore we say, oh, it's good, it's very good, it's better, and then we say it's excellent or best. So your aim should be best. But having said that, you should at least start from the basic. Every table in your database from this point onwards, we will not assume, we will ensure that we put it in the first normal form. And this table is in the first normal form. So it is, if it has a primary key and none of the fields has repeating data, I just kind of added this here, all fields are atomic, because there was the old definition, and maybe you still see it somewhere. And atomic means cannot be broken down. But cannot be broken down is not saying, oh, that it's repeating. Like I said, 1 Georgian Drive Barrie can be broken down. So will you say, oh, that's not atomic, so it's not in first normal form. But think about atomic not being broken down in that sense. Atomic means either you don't need it to be that way, so you just choose it. So stick to this definition, and this you can kind of just ignore it. This is just old way of saying it. But if you understand what none of the fields has repeating data, you're perfectly fine, right? So 1 Georgian Drive Barrie is not repeating data. It's not repeating. It's not the same kind of data. It's not the same kind of data. Okay, but favorite sites was a repeating data group. Job desired was a repeating data group. Those were definitely repeating data groups. But here there is none of the field. So this table is in the first normal form. So this point onwards, this week onwards, we will create all our tables in the first normal form. Then when we learn a little more, we will go to the second, and then we will go to the third. But for the first 6 weeks, we won't go further. Now that we have finished select statements, you are ready for your second assignment. But I don't want to kind of give it because I still have to mark the first one. So I will ensure that I give it to you somewhere tomorrow or on the weekend, hoping that I can mark your first one. The first one won't take time, but I have 80 students. You know what I mean? So going through 80 scripts takes time. So I don't want to kind of just keep collecting assignments, but definitely now there will be an assignment on this and it is ready. I may choose to make it an in class next week and just say do it in class and I'll mark it in class. That saves me time in this sense, not saves me time. You do it, we reiterate it together and the job is done. Or if I don't feel the need and I say no, let them do it at home, I'll let you do it. But it will come when it comes, but there will be an assignment. Okay, so there will be assignment on select. I'll put this on Blackboard for you. Any questions for me? Anything that you need to ask me from today's lesson that we did today? Are we okay? Okay, then you're good to go. And all that I'm doing, as you know, is available on Blackboard in your scripts and as lessons is available on YouTube.